Welcome back. Monday, February 1st, 2021. Charles Blow in the New York Times writes, quote, "It is urgent that black people consolidate political power now. In my view, the acquisition of black power has reached a level of urgency while rivaling that of the climate crisis. Immediate action is required, but it may very well already be too late," close quote. What are the two main urgencies that he identifies? Reparations and voting rights that stand to benefit black people, he says. When it comes to reparations, folks, we are talking about money from people who were never slave owners to people who were never slaves, or even in large part never descended from slaves. As Larry Elder put it, there's another problem. He asks, what about people like Kamala Harris? Her father is from Haiti, and he has admitted that in his family they owned slaves. So does Kamala Harris pay a check or does she receive a check? What about Barack Obama? White mom, father from a hot point of slave trading. Does Obama pay a check or does he get a check? As for voting rights, it has been illegal to discriminate in voting rights in America since 1965. And for my money, if we wanted to truly ensure one man, one vote, we would have voter identification laws, as I can think of no better reform to ensure someone's vote will count, can be checked upon, can be investigated, and it would have a record with it, not to mention an impetus for the voting effort on an individual basis. So talk of black power today, especially if it's come down to those two major foci, seem to me a set of solutions to an ever-expanding cascade of demands that will never be met and will never solve the main problems in our country right now. More from Larry Elder, I will quote. In 1964, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. appeared on a BBC news show. The host asked King about Attorney General
Here's three
Robert
great
Kennedy's
reasons to get the new Samsung Galaxy S21 5G at
that a
T-Mobile.
black man
One,
could be
it's
elected
free
as president
for both current
for
and new
40 years
customers
out.
when you trade in an eligible
King
device.
thought it would not
Two,
take that long. Quote, "There are certain problems and prejudices and mores in our society which make it difficult now. However, I am very optimistic about the future. Frankly, I have seen certain changes in the United States over the last 2 years that surprise me. On the basis of this, I think we may be able to get a Negro president," his words, "in less than 40 years. I would think that this could come in 25 years or less. It took 44 years. The day after the election of President Barack Obama, front page stories in newspapers all over the country, including the New York Times, quoted black parents saying things like, quote, "For the first time in my life, I can truly look my child in the eye and say, yes, you can become president someday." A tearful Jesse Jackson said he never thought he would see the day. Representative John Lewis said, quote, "I feel very grateful that I'm still here to be here during this unbelievable historic moment in our country. This is a day of thanksgiving and a night of celebration. It's unbelievable that we have come such a distance in such a short time to see a young African-American man elected president of the United States," close quote. It's difficult to overstate the significance of the election of Barack Obama. As recently as the 1950s, polls showed the majority of Americans said they would never vote for a black person for president, no matter how qualified. But in 2007, then Senator Obama, speaking at a historically black church in Alabama on the 42nd anniversary of the Selma March, talked about our country's great progress in race relations. America, Obama said, is, quote, 90% of the way there, close quote. Obama said, quote, "I'm here because somebody marched for our freedom. I'm here because you all sacrificed for me. I stand on the shoulders of giants. I thank the Moses generation, but we have got to remember now that Joshua still had a job to do. The previous generation, the Moses generation, pointed the way. They took us 90% of the way there, but we, the Joshua generation, still got that 10% in order to cross over to the other side," close quote. Now, this 90% occurred before Obama's election and subsequent re-election, so presumably we can carve into the remaining 10% a little, can't we? But what a difference a few years makes. A couple things occurred. First, the election of a black person did not bring about the expected hope in change. In fact, the percentage of blacks living in poverty increased under Obama. Shortly before Obama's election, a supporter at a campaign rally named Peggy Joseph famously gushed about what an Obama victory would mean. Quote, "I won't have to worry about putting gas in my car. I won't have to worry about paying my mortgage. You know, if I help him, he'll help me," close quote. Well, guess what? Barbara Bush was right when she said your success as a family Our success as a society depends not on what happens at the White House, but what happens inside your own house. Close quote. On the other side of this, as Patricia Onwuka has written, the economic progress that lifted median black household incomes to their highest levels on record and pushed black unemployment rates and poverty rates down to their lowest levels on record resulted from Donald Trump's policies. Now, this obviously creates a massive problem in the Black Power movement because it is based on the notion that there is a need for black power, right? This all comes to us as a new book on the topic from Charles Blow comes to us at the commencement this month of Black History Month, first recognized nationally in the United States by President Gerald Ford in 1976, a Republican. Good. I'm glad there's a Black History Month. In September, there is a Hispanic American History Month, though I think it gets much less play and prominence. There's an Asian American Heritage Month in May, though I think it gets much less play and prominence yet, which comes at the same time as Jewish History Month, which still yet gets less play and prominence. It's all okay, I think, though interesting that Hispanic Americans constitute a much larger share of our population than black Americans, and yet the question I think we avoid is what is the point of these identity months? Is it for more appreciation of our entirety of people, or is it used for separation and division? When you hear the need for claims of a new black power movement, I worry about that. About 30 years ago, the historian Arthur Schlesinger wrote this, quote, "What happens when people of different ethnic origins speak different language and professing different regions settle in the same geographical locality and live under the same political sovereignty? Unless a common purpose binds them together, tribal antagonism will drive them apart. So we face a critical question. What is it that holds a nation together? No one in the 19th century thought more carefully about representative government than John Stuart Mill. The two elements that defined a nation, as Mill saw, were the desire on the part of the inhabitants to be governed together and the common sympathy instilled by shared history, values, language. Free institutions, he wrote, quote, are next to impossible in a country made up of different nationalities. Among a people without fellow feeling, especially if they read and speak different languages, the united public opinion, necessary to the working of representative government, cannot exist. It is in general a necessary condition of free institutions that the boundaries of government should coincide in the main with those of nationalities." Close quote. Schlesinger continues, however, countries break up when they fail to give ethnically diverse peoples compelling reasons to see themselves as part of the same nation. Think about it. E pluribus unum, out of many one, or one out of many, either way. The United States had a brilliant solution for the inherent fragility, the inherent combustibility of a multi-ethnic society. The creation of a brand new national identity by individuals who, in forsaking old loyalties and joining to make new lives, melted away ethnic differences. A national identity that absorbs and transcends the diverse ethnicities that come to our shore, ethnicities that enrich and reshape the common culture in the very act of entering into it. He concludes, in a world savagely rent by ethnic and racial antagonisms, it is all the more essential that the United States continue as an example of how a highly differentiated society holds itself together. Close quote. I think about this a lot and I worry about it a lot because unity is a more than one-way street. And it makes me want to quote John Wayne. The hyphen, Webster's dictionary defines, is a symbol used to divide a compound word or a single word, different creeds and different races, to form a nation, to become as one. Yet look at the harm a line has done. I think I should like all these directions more if we spoke and thought less about black power or any ethnic group power, but instead spoke of American or America's power. That, of course, requires a love of America or a pride in it at a very minimum. Do we still have it? Do we still hold our truths to be self-evident? And just what are they seen as today? It's awfully hard to merge honor and esteem equality when you are at the same time pushing, promulgating, and forcing notions of supremacy and power. Equality and supremacy are nearly antagonistic to one another, be it black power or white power. And it seems to me it's awfully hard to approach and attend equality, or the absence of racism, if you prefer, when one group is pitted against another. In the late 1970s, Alan Dershowitz wrote a brief in the famed Bakke case. And he wrote this, quote, "Although different racial groups in this country may well have different interests, there is no such thing as a group right under the 14th Amendment. If an individual is denied admission to a state institution, even though he is better qualified than others who have been accepted, and if the denial is due to the fact that he is or is not a member of a particular racial or ethnic group, his personal and individual right to be free from discrimination has been infringed. Accordingly, the fact that members of other groups have suffered discrimination in the past can be no justification for present discrimination against an individual." So I think maybe we'd do well to remember all this as we celebrate all our history. I'm Seth Leibson. We'll be right back.